Military veterans have served our country to protect our freedoms. Once that service is complete, it can be hard for some veterans to readjust to civilian life. And that's where the Veterans Life Center steps in. We're joined now by John Turner. He is executive director of the Veterans Life Center in Butner. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Mitch. Thank you for having me.
First of all, remind us, what is the Veterans Life Center and what does it provide that's different or enhances what was available to veterans in the past?
Well, I think the Veterans Life Center, it's a residential program, and it's a place for veterans to come and to have their housing, their food, their security, to have a place where they feel like they belong. We serve a lot of people that are at risk or homeless, and obviously, when they get to that level, they've lost some of their relationships. They might not even have family. They really don't have anybody else. So we bring them in and we let them know that we care for them. And I think when we talked in 2019, we talked about some of the challenges veterans have, mental health and behavioral health, and the underlying issue. So if you have a mental health issue that's untreated, undiagnosed, and unaddressed, then you're probably going to self-diagnose. And when you do that, you're probably going to lose out on friendships, probably deteriorate from family relationships, and it's going to be hard for you to hold a job. And so the Veterans Life Center is created to help return veterans to self-reliance, not to be a shelter, not to be a place where they stay for a night or two, but a way for them to really turn their life around and for them to set goals, achieve them, and to be able to find their personally satisfying place in civil society.
And you mentioned this is a residential facility, but it's not just a place for them to lie down at night. There are lots of things going on at the center too.
Yes, there is. One of the first things we ask them, we just don't take people off the street. We have a screening process. So one of our programmatic people will go through and talk to them about the challenges they're having. And then myself, our program director, our senior case manager, we will interview them and then admit them into the program. And one of the things that we ask them in that initial screening interview is, what is your purpose? What is your identity? And what training do you need? Often the veterans that come here, they don't know what their purpose is. Their identity is, I'm a veteran, or I'm a veteran that has this issue or that issue. They really describe their diagnosis, but not their identity. And one of the things that we really talk to them about is a diagnosis is a part of who you are, but don't let that diagnosis define you. You need to, who do you want to become? One of the questions that we ask them is, today is June 14th, 2023. Where do you see your life June 14th, 2028? Let's look 5 years out and describe to me what your life will look like in those 5 years. And then let's figure out how to put a plan together so you can achieve that life.
And this leads into my next question. You do this review, you do the screening, you ask them the questions, and then you don't throw a one-size-fits-all plan at them. It sounds as if you come up with something that's custom designed for each one of these veterans.
Right. We call it an IVRP, an individualized veterans reintegration plan. So though they might be going through some of the core things, life skills, financial literacy, because it doesn't matter. You can make $100,000 a year and you can still file bankruptcy. You can make $40,000 a year and retire as a millionaire. Really understanding that. And we have great community partners. State Employees Credit Union and First National Bank come in and teach those. Part of the Veterans Life Center is, it isn't just the employees we have in the center that work with them. We work with community partners to bring the best and the brightest people we can to come in to work with these veterans.
We chatted with you in 2019 when you were still getting this project up and running, and it was about to get started. So tell us how things have gone. I believe you opened in 2020. What can you tell us about how it's worked so far?
Well, we did open in 2020. We cut the ribbon in August, and we brought our first resident in September of 2020. There were a few challenges we didn't plan for with that. COVID was a reality at that point. And if one of our veterans had COVID, then with the guidelines at that time, you were supposed to quarantine everybody for 12 days. Well, in a residential program, when you're dealing with addiction and mental health, that became a challenge. So we had to modify and work through that. Also, by the state and the federal laws. Everybody was supposed to have a mask on, but it's pretty hard when you want to see people affects and see if they're smiling or frowning, and it's really hard to personalize and relate to somebody when everybody was wearing a mask. So we definitely had some challenges that no one anticipated when we opened. And also we had some challenges on getting proper referrals and getting the number of veterans that we wanted to serve. We have 50 rooms here. We currently have 43 veterans, because we serve male and female. So that is, if you take that, we currently have 5 female veterans. If we had 12 female veterans, we would have all the rooms being used. But just finding referrals, a lot of agencies were doing everything remotely for people with mental health and substance abuse. It was really hard for them to get to the appropriate people to even be referred to us. So we had to really put an effort into outreach and finding the veterans that need the help.
Even with the
And then
challenges, though, I understand you've had some success stories too. Some people who've already gone through the program and now are out in life.
we've had some amazing success stories. We had a veteran who was trying to, in 2019, decided he was going to start his own small business. He had a job with a great company in the Triangle. He had left that and was running his own business. And then when COVID hit, he could not provide the service that he wanted to provide. And he ended up burning through his savings, and he was living in a tent. He came to us in early 2021. In 2022, he entered the Wake Tech Entrepreneurial Pitch Competition and came in 3rd place. He was able to regain some employment, follow our financial literacy, and when he left here, he was able to have $70,000 in savings, so he's able to relaunch his business. Some of that was, I think, he won like $15,000 from Wake Tech, and then he went to work, but he also was able to pay off debt. Some of our veterans, they don't just come to us homeless and with no money. They come to us homeless and in debt. So our residents have paid off over $200,000 in debt in the 2 years that we've been open. We've also been very fortunate that 4 of our residents went from homeless to homeowner.
Yeah, that's excellent. And for those of us who haven't served, we don't know the types of challenges that veterans face when they come back to civilian life. But I know that you have had the experience of serving our country, and I'm guessing that most of the people involved in this project have. How rewarding is it to see that you can actually make a difference in these veterans' lives?
Well, I know when we first had the idea for the Veterans Life Center, that's what some people told me. They're like, John, you have to temper your expectations. You're talking about people that are homeless. They have severe addictions. They have some mental health challenges. They have some behavioral health challenges. You can't put such a high bar on them. And I said, these people are the successful ones. That's why our building is models what a barracks that they would have been in the military. We took them back to the last place we knew they were successful. All of our residents passed basic training. All of our residents made it through their technical training. All of our residents served and got an honorable discharge. So these are people that have had successes. It was once they left the military, and there's numerous reasons for that. The military provides a structure. They didn't have that structure. You also went through a period of COVID. You went through a period where we had a surge of Afghanistan veterans. In August of 21, there were great challenges for Afghanistan veterans that returned them to use and really questioning themselves. So we had a surge of Afghanistan veterans that come through at that time. And so what we're able to provide them is a safe, secure place where they can truly work on themselves. One of our residents told me the other day, there is nothing that you have asked me to do that wasn't for me. We don't ask them to do stuff that benefits us. We don't ask them to do things that benefit anybody else. We ask them to truly take the time and focus on themselves and address their challenges. And one of the things that we found is them asking for help is usually one of their biggest challenges. I question you to find anybody that is successful that doesn't ask to correct people for help. Because I think in America, despite what you see on the news and all the stories that you see, most Americans are great people. And when you ask them for help and you're sincere about it, they will provide that help. And I think that that's why we've had 4 residents go from homeless to homeowner, because those that asked for help found the help that they needed.
In the time that we have left, what's next for Veterans Life Center? What is it that you're hoping to do in the next year or 2 or 5 years down the line?
Well, first, we're worried about the end of June. We're very fortunate that the General Assembly gives us a $750,000 challenge grant match. We're about $55,000 short of that. So we are, our board and myself, we are on the phones dialing for dollars, really talking about the successes that we've had. Talking about the 5 residents we have that have been with us a year. They came to us, they hadn't had sobriety in years, and they've been able to keep that sobriety for a year. So we're really looking for people to do that. And so if you donate $200, the state is going to match that $200. So your donation will become $400. And you can make that donation at www.vlcnc.org. But another thing we're doing is really saying what the metrics are. You know, a lot of facilities that do similar to what we do, that people think what we do, they would tell you, we've had a 40,000 bed nights. You would take each number of veteran, how long they stayed, put a sign to that and say, 40,000 veterans have been, that wouldn't have had a place to sleep, had a place to sleep. You multiply that times 3 and you'd say, we've served over 130,000 meals. But that isn't the metrics that we want. We want to show that 12% of our residents have diabetes and they brought their A1C levels down. We want to really put hard metrics and show how the person, where they were when they came in and where they were when they left. So people know when you invest in a Veterans Life Center, you're not only investing in a nonprofit getting your tax break, you're actually investing in people's lives, because that's what we do here, is change lives. So over the next year, we want to talk to some other states and talk about, see if they would not want to replicate the success we're having and how we're serving veterans in North Carolina. If we can't do that in other states, we would hope to have 5 or 6 Veterans Life Centers nationwide over the next 6 years.
Well, it's certainly something that we'd like to see to help the veterans who've done so much to serve our country and protect our freedoms. Once again, if you'd like to learn more about the Veterans Life Center, including making a contribution, that website is vlcnc.org. The group's executive director is John Turner. John, thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, Mitch.